Stay with this for a moment. Do not rush past it. What you are about to hear is not something that disappears quickly after you read it. It tends to stay in the mind and come back later in quiet moments. This is for the person who has felt something they could never fully explain. For the person who keeps thinking about someone they thought they had already moved on from. For the person who tries to act normal but still feels something under the surface that never fully went away. It does not always feel intense every day. Sometimes it is very quiet. Sometimes it comes as a sudden thought in the middle of a normal moment. Sometimes it shows up as a small feeling in the chest that you cannot explain. Sometimes it feels like someone is still connected to you, even when there is no contact, no words, and no clear reason for it. And the strange part is that it does not always feel like pain or joy. It feels unfinished, like something was started but never completed. There is a reason this feeling stays. Someone does feel something for you. Not in a simple way and not in a casual way. It is not something they turn on and off. It is something deeper, quieter, and more complicated than they openly show. They may not even fully understand it themselves, but it is there. It shows up in their thoughts more often than they admit. It shows up in their silence. It shows up in the way they hold back. This connection did not come from boredom or passing interest. It did not come from convenience. It came from recognition. Something in you reached something in them in a way that felt natural and real, even if it was never spoken clearly. At first, you may have felt like just another person in their life. Then slowly, without a clear moment, you became someone they noticed more than others. Then someone they paid attention to in a different way. Then someone they remembered without trying, and before they even realized it, you became someone they could not fully stop thinking about. That is where the confusion begins. Because when something grows naturally like this, but life does not fully allow it, it creates tension. Not because the feeling is weak, but because the situation does not support it. What blocks this connection is not always lack of emotion. Many times, it is timing. Sometimes, it is responsibility. Sometimes, it is fear. Sometimes, it is existing commitments. Sometimes, it is pressure from family, society, or personal beliefs. Sometimes, it is simply the life they already built before they met you. So even if the feeling is real, they step back. Even if they want to move closer, they stop themselves. This is why the connection feels both strong and distant at the same time. It is not that they do not feel anything, it is that they are fighting what they feel. They may wake up and find thoughts of you already present in their mind, and almost immediately they try to push them away. They replay small moments in their memory, things you said, the way you made them feel understood, the way your presence felt different from what they are used to. Then they stop themselves from going deeper into those thoughts. Because for them, wanting this connection may feel like something that could disrupt everything else in their life. So they stay quiet. They hold back. They do not express what is inside. They may even act normal, calm, or emotionally distant. But silence is not the same as absence. Silence often means there is too much inside and no safe way to express it. So from the outside, it can look like nothing is happening. It can look like they do not care. It can look like they have moved on. But inside, it is often the opposite. This is where the push and pull begins. Every time they stop themselves from reaching out, the feeling does not disappear. It settles deeper. Every time they choose distance, the tension increases. Every time they act unaffected, the emotion continues to exist underneath. This is why the bond does not feel like it fades normally. It does not behave like something simple that comes and goes. It feels like something that stays in motion, even in silence. You may also feel this in your own way. Moments where you suddenly think of them without a clear reason. Moments where their energy feels close, even when they are not present. Moments where the connection feels active, even in silence. This is what makes it feel unfinished, because what is not expressed does not always disappear. Sometimes it stays as emotional pressure. Sometimes it becomes a quiet weight in the background of thoughts. On their side, this can feel exhausting. They may appear stable on the outside. They may continue their daily life, responsibilities, work, and routines. But inside, there is a constant inner conflict. A conflict between what they feel and what they think they should do, between desire and control, between honesty and consequence. This is why distance does not always bring peace. If the connection was shallow, distance would end it. If it was just curiosity, it would fade. If it was only attraction, it would lose strength over time. But when something carries emotional meaning, distance does not erase it. It only changes how it is experienced. It continues in memory. It continues in thought. It continues in emotion. This is why the connection feels like it stays alive, even when nothing is happening in the physical world. Because something inside both people has already been affected. You may have experienced this as a feeling of recognition, a sense that this person felt familiar in a way you could not explain, a sense of ease at times that felt different from other connections, a feeling that you did not need to over-explain yourself to be understood. They may have felt that too, and that is why it does not fully leave their mind. They remember small moments that seemed simple, but did not feel simple to them. They remember how it felt to be seen in a different way. They remember how it felt when their usual emotional distance was not as strong. And those memories do not sit quietly. They raise questions inside them. Questions they may not say out loud. Questions about their current life. Questions about what feels missing. Questions about why something that once felt stable may not feel the same anymore. Not because everything is falling apart, but because something inside them has shifted. And when a person experiences that kind of shift, it changes how they see everything else. You are also changing in this process. This connection does not only affect one side, it affects both. You may have noticed that your emotional awareness has changed. What once felt acceptable may now feel empty. What once felt like attention may now feel shallow. What once felt like enough may now feel incomplete. You may also find that you no longer want connections that feel unclear or half-present. This is not only about one person, it is about what this connection revealed inside you. It showed you how depth feels when it is real. It showed you the difference between attention and true emotional presence. It showed you what it feels like to be understood in a way that feels natural rather than forced. And once you see that, it is difficult to go back to ignoring it. That is why letting go feels complicated. It is not only attachment to a person, it is attachment to a feeling of truth that you experienced through them. But not every strong connection arrives to stay in the same form forever. Some connections arrive to wake something up, to make you more aware, to make you more honest with yourself, to make you more careful about what you accept in the future. They show you what your heart is capable of feeling. They show you what kind of emotional depth you can recognize. And they make it harder for you to accept less than that. So the real meaning of this experience is not to keep waiting in confusion or silence. It is not to pause your life around uncertainty. The deeper meaning is growth. It is becoming more aware of what you need emotionally. It is learning not to ignore your own inner truth. It is understanding the difference between attachment and real connection. And it is preparing you for a kind of love that does not feel confusing, hidden, or uncertain. A love that does not require guessing. A love that does not rely on silence. A love that feels clear and steady. That is the transformation this connection is pushing you toward, even if it does not feel comfortable while it is happening. Stay with this for a moment. Do not rush past it. Do not treat it like something to simply hear and forget. What you are about to receive is not meant to disappear quickly. It is meant to sit with you, to return in quiet moments, and to make you think a little deeper about what you feel and what you have been carrying inside. This is for the person who has felt something they could never fully explain, for the person who keeps thinking about someone they believed they had already moved on from, for the person who tries to act normal in daily life, but still feels something underneath that never fully settled. It does not always feel intense. It is not always painful or loud. Sometimes it is very quiet. Sometimes it appears as a sudden thought during an ordinary moment. Sometimes it is a feeling in the chest that has no clear reason. Sometimes it feels like someone is still connected to you, even when there is no contact, no messages, and no visible sign of connection. And what makes it even more confusing is that it does not feel fully complete. It feels unfinished, like something was started but never fully expressed or understood. There is a reason this feeling stays. Someone does feel something for you. Not in a simple way, not in a casual way, not in a way that appears clearly on the surface. It is deeper than that, quieter than that, and more complicated than what is openly shown. They may not fully understand it themselves. But it exists. It shows up in their thoughts more than they admit. It shows up in their silence. It shows up in the way they hold back from expressing what is inside. This connection did not come from boredom or temporary attraction. It did not come from convenience or passing interest. It came from recognition. Something in you reached something in them in a way that felt natural, even if it was never spoken clearly. At first, you may have felt like just another person they met. Then slowly, without a clear moment, you became someone they noticed more often. Then someone they paid attention to differently. Then someone they remembered without trying. And without realizing it fully, you became someone they could not easily stop thinking about. This is where things become complicated, because when something grows naturally, but life circumstances do not fully support it, it creates inner tension. Not because the feeling is weak, but because the situation does not allow easy expression. What blocks this connection is not always lack of emotion. Many times it is timing. Sometimes it is responsibility. Sometimes it is fear. Sometimes it is pressure from family, society, or existing commitments. Sometimes it is the life they already built before this connection began. So even if the feeling is real, they hesitate. Even if they want to move closer, they stop themselves. This is why the connection feels strong and distant at the same time. It is not absence of feeling, it is conflict within feeling. They may wake up and think of you without expecting it. And then, almost immediately try to push the thought away. They remember small details, small moments, the way you made them feel seen or understood. Then they step back from those memories, because going deeper feels emotionally risky for them. To them, this connection may feel like something that could disrupt the structure of their life. So they remain quiet. They do not express what is inside. They may appear calm or emotionally distant, but silence is not emptiness. Silence often means too much is happening inside, with nowhere safe to go. From the outside, it may look like nothing is happening. It may look like they are unaffected. It may look like they have moved on. But internally, it is often very different. This is where the push and pull begins. Every time they resist reaching out, the feeling does not disappear. It stays and settles deeper. Every time they choose distance, the inner tension increases. Every time they act unaffected, the emotion continues underneath. This is why the connection does not behave like something normal that fades with time. It feels like something still moving even in silence. You may also feel this in your own way. Sudden thoughts of them. Moments where their presence feels close without reason. Emotional waves that do not have clear triggers. A sense that something is still active even without communication. This is what creates the feeling of unfinished emotional business. Because what is not expressed does not always end. Sometimes it turns into quiet, emotional pressure. Sometimes it becomes a background feeling that does not fully go away. On their side, this can feel heavy in a different way. They continue their daily life, they handle responsibilities, they act normal in their environment. But inside, there is a constant internal negotiation, a struggle between what they feel and what they think they are allowed to do, between desire and control, between honesty and consequence. This is why distance does not automatically bring peace. If the connection was shallow, distance would end it. If it was temporary attraction, it would fade. If it was only curiosity, it would lose intensity over time. But when something carries emotional meaning, distance only changes how it is experienced, not whether it exists. It continues through memory. It continues through thought. It continues through emotional reflection. This is why it feels like it stays alive, even when nothing visible is happening. Because something in both people has already shifted. You may have felt this as recognition, a strange sense of familiarity, a feeling of ease that did not require explanation, a moment where being understood felt natural rather than forced. They may have felt that too, and that is why it does not fully leave their mind. They remember small moments that seemed ordinary but felt different to them. They remember how it felt to be emotionally seen in a way they were not used to. They remember how certain interactions stayed in their mind longer than expected. And those memories do not remain passive. They create internal questions. Questions about their current life. Questions about what feels missing. Questions about why something that once felt stable may not feel the same anymore. Not because everything is broken, but because something inside has changed. And once that kind of change begins, it affects everything else slowly. You are also changing through this. This connection does not affect only one side. It affects both. You may notice that your emotional awareness is different now. Things that once felt acceptable may now feel empty. Things that once felt like connection may now feel shallow. Things that once felt enough may now feel incomplete. You may also find that you are less willing to accept unclear or half-present relationships. This is not only about one person. It is about what this experience revealed inside you. It showed you what emotional depth feels like when it is real. It showed you the difference between attention and genuine presence. It showed you what it feels like to be emotionally recognized instead of just noticed. And once you experience that, it becomes difficult to ignore it later. This is why letting go feels complex. It is not only attachment to a person, it is attachment to a feeling of truth that you experienced through them. But not every strong connection is meant to remain in the same form forever. Some connections arrive to awaken awareness. Some arrive to change perspective. Some arrive to show you what you can no longer ignore in yourself. They reveal what your heart is capable of feeling. They raise your standards quietly. They make it harder to settle for less than emotional honesty. The deeper lesson here is not waiting in confusion. It is not building your life around uncertainty. The deeper lesson is growth. It is becoming more honest with yourself. It is learning to recognize what you need emotionally. It is learning to stop confusing intensity with stability. It is learning to see the difference between potential and reality. And it is learning that love should not require you to lose yourself. You can care about someone and still remain grounded. You can feel deeply and still protect your emotional balance. You can acknowledge a bond without letting it take over your entire inner world. That is maturity forming inside you. That is emotional clarity developing slowly. From this place, the connection begins to feel different. It may still matter. It may still exist in your memory, but it no longer controls your direction. Because now you are learning to look at behavior, not just feeling. If someone is truly ready, it will show through action. It will show through consistency. It will show through clarity. It will not remain hidden in silence or uncertainty. And if it does not show, that is also information. Silence is still communication. Delay is still a choice. Inaction still says something real. This is why your path forward cannot depend on someone else deciding when to be ready. Your life cannot pause around uncertainty. You are being asked to move forward with stability inside yourself, not waiting for external clarity to appear. As time moves, one of two things usually happens in connections like this. Either a person steps into honesty and faces what they feel, or they retreat further into comfort and familiarity. Some people choose truth, even when it is uncomfortable. Others choose stability, even when it feels empty. Both choices reveal something important, not through words, but through actions over time. And this is where your clarity begins to form. Not in imagination, not in signs, not in emotional guessing, but in real behavior. So your grounding becomes important now. You do not need to chase clarity from someone who is still uncertain. You do not need to wait in emotional confusion, hoping they will eventually decide. You do not need to abandon your own stability for someone else's hesitation. You can remain open without losing yourself. You can care without losing direction. You can hope without losing self-respect. This experience is not here to trap you in longing. It is here to refine your emotional understanding. It is here to raise your awareness of what real love requires. Real love is not just intensity. It is not just silent emotion. It is not just inner connection. Real love requires presence, honesty, and action from both sides. Not one-sided waiting, not emotional guessing, not hidden uncertainty. So now the bond becomes something else in your life. It becomes something you understand instead of something that controls you. It may have entered your life strongly. It may have changed how you feel. It may have awakened emotions you had not accessed before. But its purpose is not to make you lose yourself. Its purpose is to make you more aware of yourself, to help you recognize what you will no longer accept, to help you understand what real emotional safety feels like, and to help you become someone who does not mistake confusion for destiny. So if you needed clarity, here it is. You do not need to keep chasing what cannot yet stand with you in reality. You only need to keep becoming someone who recognizes real love when it arrives clearly, consistently, and without confusion. And when that happens, you will not have to question it.